Hello, and welcome to the maiden voyage of the SS Provider Metrics. My name is Frank Cohen, and I'm going to be your tour guide for the next few minutes. Since somewhere in the early 90s, in addition to my consulting services, I've made generally available to healthcare providers a litany of practice analytics tools. These include my fee analysis worksheets and my utilization analysis worksheets, and most recently my E&M utilization templates. Over the past 20 years or so, I have worked diligently at updating and enhancing the models, the statistics, the math, the sources that I use to ensure that I provide folks like you with the most up-to-date and valuable products on the market. So when I started this back in the early 90s, I published these in hard copy. And then I moved on eventually to the modern world of Lotus 123. And I know most of you, if you're not grandparents, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But for the past 10 years or so, they've been available as Microsoft Excel templates. And I don't know if you read Dr. Seuss, but the Sneetches book is my favorite. And there's a story about the Zacks. And it sort of happened for me that way. What happens is, out of nowhere, I bump into the 20th century and you get this invention of the internet. So I know Al Gore's been out there and the internet was out for a long time before that. But I'm sort of gotten old and paranoid and a bit resistant to change. So the world went on without me. And it left my aging delivery method in the dust. So to make a long story not quite as long, I sought out a technology partner that could help me bridge my 10-year gap in a hurry. And I came across this company called Provider Metrics. They're a relatively new startup, but they got great talent and they got great ideas. So here's where we are. Now, introducing this E&M Metrics product. This module, one of many to come, I hope, combines my models and statistics, my tools for the E&M utilization with cutting-edge internet technology to create the most flexible, powerful, actually attractive, and user-friendly E&M utilization tool that I've ever seen on the market. And you're invited to hang in there for the next few minutes. I'm going to give you a little magical mystery tour of this robust and valuable addition to your practice management toolbox. So stand by as we go. Now, assuming this is not a training video, so assuming that we just want to give you a high-level overview of what this is about, I'm going to make the assumption that you've already logged in or you already have an account and you're all set to go on this. And what you could do is you could just sort of create a quick benchmark workbook if you want to, picking any specialty and just going through and sort of starting to enter data if you want to try to do some initial analyses. But for the purpose of sort of trying to do this a little more quickly and more efficiently, what I want to do is I want to actually go through and show you how this would work more real life for a medical practice. So I've created these different practices in here. I'm just going to pick the internal medicine practice. And what I can do in here is I have these different providers that I've created worksheets for. And you can see I can just show a worksheet for any of these particular providers. I can add a worksheet for any of these providers if I want to do a different time period or whatever I might want to do with it. But in this case, what I want to do is I want to add a provider. So I'm going to add another provider, and this will be me. And this is an internal medicine group, but this time I'm going to add me as a gastroenterologist because maybe either I am a gastroenterologist or I'm an internal medicine physician who acts like a gastroenterologist. One provider in here. And you'll notice that I don't have any worksheets here yet. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to create a new worksheet. I'm going to do combined utilization, gastroenterology, and just for the sake of argument, I'm just going to go ahead and enter new and established office visits to begin with here. So I've already got my date set up, and I'm using this combined utilization. I'm not doing any comparisons as of yet. I'm just going to build something for this particular doc. So I'm going to take some real data that I have in here for a real practice that I'm working on. And I'm going to assess some of the statistics here. You put in your numbers, utilization numbers. You click on Update Worksheet, and it automatically creates these comparisons. I'm going to do this for established office visits also because I just want to show you a couple sort of salient things here. And again, I've played with these numbers. These are real numbers from a real practice on which I'm conducting an analysis right now. And again, I say Update Worksheet. And now what I've done is I've entered all the data for the new and established visits for this particular provider. Now notice that I can compare against the national utilization, the local carrier locality, area and locality, or I can do just by the state. Let's say in this case, I just want to look at national first. And I can look at this compared to my provider. And I know some of you who've worked with these, the distribution worksheets have seen this type of analysis before. And what you can do if you want to is you can actually expand this and look at all the raw data. See from whence this analysis, originates. A lot of people aren't into that. I like looking at the raw data. Some people would rather depend upon the graphical representation. So in this case, in addition to the normal distribution comparisons, we also created a variance chart. And what the variance chart does, it gives you a very quick rundown on what the utilization distribution variances look like compared to the peer group. So for example, and what I like about it is that you'll notice that there's a 0% line, meaning that it's exactly the same. So it's very easy to tell right away whether you're under or over utilizing or have those tendencies compared to what the data are for your particular group. So I can go over here, for example, and tell you that I'm 89% higher than my peer group when it comes to the 99205 from a Gypsy level. Let's do it from a national level, 40.8%. And I can come down here and tell you that on the 99202, I'm 37.41% lower utilization. The other thing that's cool about this is when you get these types of distributions, you see where you have this spike on a particular code, it allows you to see whether or not that aberrancy is in comparison to national, geographic, state, peer reviews, or whether it's inherent within your organization also. And I'm going to show you in a minute how we can make those types of comparisons. One issue that people run into is when you look at distributions like this, where you can see that the practices distribution, it's not too distant from what the peer distributions are. The question is, am I under, am I over, by how much? And it's really hard to tell sometimes. Even in a situation like this where you have a spike, it's not always easy to tell where the compensatory part of this comes. So what we did was we created this utilization distribution workbook. And what we do using proportion distributions, this is really cool. It creates one single value, and that value allows you to compare the magnitude and the direction of that change. So I can see that not only does let's go back up, does not, this looks like it's similar, but I can tell that I'm about 114% shifted right from my peer group. It's really important to know. And in the established utilization, I can see I'm about 90% or 10% lower than what my peer group is. We also go beyond just the normal intra-category and we look at ratios. For example, established office visit to new office visits. If I'm a brand new practice, I would expect to see a lot more new office visits than established. If I'm a dying practice, I would expect to see significantly more established office visit than new office visit procedures. So it allows you to do a little more vectoring in looking at what's going on within the practice. And we also allow you create this comparison of what the global analysis looks like. What percentage of your E&M codes are contained within any one given category, and it helps you sort of to assist the value of the risk also. Now, one of the coolest features here, as far as I'm concerned, is that I can not only compare this to the benchmarks, I can compare this internally. So let's say I go back to my internal medicine organization, and what I want to do is I want to compare me against the average of all the providers within the organization, not including me, right? And so I just do this and I click on Update Worksheet, and what you'll see is it creates this comparative line. So if I get rid of national, Gypsy, and state, I already know what that looks like. I can see that not only are my 99213 spiked compared to, or aberrant compared to those benchmarks, but it's also aberrant when I do a comparison to all the other physicians within the group. So I'm not only different from my peers outside, I'm different from my peers inside. And it gives me a great opportunity to see, to give me management tools that I need to deal with some of those problems. If I want to save the worksheet, I can save it. If I want to print the worksheet, I can print it. And it gives me a chance to memorialize the data. So that's the overview of how this thing works. And the question is, why would you want to spend money to subscribe to this type of service? Well, number one, OIG and CMS have made it pretty clear that every practice is responsible now for reviewing the appropriateness of their coding and billing. So conducting a utilization analysis becomes a no-brainer. You got to do it whether you use this tool or not. Number two is many of you have already seen these types of analyses either in hard copy or on spreadsheets, such as purchasing some of my spreadsheets. I know many of you have done that. And number three, you get real-time access to utilization data without the hassle of copy, paste, sort, search, save, find, all the other stuff, which is inherent in the local spreadsheet model. And if you're like me, I got to admit, who still, likes to have the benefit of some of the local access part, you can still download or print the reports at any time. And when I'm doing presentations with docs, everybody wants to see, what their utilization looks like, and you don't want to show them everybody else's, so you got to create all these different parts of the worksheet, or you got to redact parts of it. But in this case, you don't have to do that. With a touch of a button, you can share it with your coders, your compliance officers, even your docs. So, it's there for you at any time. Bottom line, this type of product will very quickly become a requirement for managing pretty much any medical practice that accepts government money. Our job was to produce the best product available in the market right now. And your job is to, So thank you very much for your time.